I didn't have anywhere to go at all, you know. My parents wouldn't take me back in the house.
I didn't know what to expect, so I was a little nervous, but when I met him, he seemed like a nice person.
Nobody is disposable, not even guys who have done the kinds of crimes that these guys have done.
This is not what you'd think of as a typical church group.
How you doing?
It's a meeting of a circle of support, a program run by the Mennonite Central Committee to help former sex offenders re-enter society.
So, how was everybody?
Every year, about 400 convicts come out of prison after serving their full sentence. Many of them are sex offenders who are considered a high risk to commit more crimes. That's why they're not released on parole. But they've served their time, so they walk out of prison with no supervision and no help. That's where circles of support come in.
One day they're in Kingston Penitentiary, the other day they're on the street in Toronto. They have none of the structures and supports and accountabilities that come with that kind of step-by-step release back into the community.
Nervous, I was really nervous. My first day out was like, wow, you know, so overwhelming.
We gather a group of people around what we call the core member, and we are basically there to support him as he gets adjusted in the community and as he tries to begin to live in a healthy way in the community. And we're also there to hold him accountable.
It was neat to see the kids' responses to this because they're like all excited. My name is Andrea Tu. I'm a volunteer with the Circles of Support. I've been a volunteer for a little over a year, and I did my Master's of Divinity in Counseling at Tyndale Seminary. I did a year placement during my degree there at Toronto East Detention Centre. So I thought, since I have a bit of training, a bit of experience working with inmates, I thought it'd be a good volunteer for me to do. I just felt that it was something the Lord wanted me to do, and I applied and got in, and the doors opened.
I raped 2 women, one at knife point and one at gunpoint. Broke into their house and woke them up and sexually assaulted them. And it got me 8 years, 5 months.
We're motivated by 2 things. One, a concern that there would be no more victims in the community. We're working primarily with sex offenders, and we don't want to see any more victims. The other goal is how do we give this person a second chance to function in the community within healthy kind of limitations.
At what point in all of this did you blow up and kick the chair?
As soon as I lost it. Like, not as soon as I lost it, maybe about 5 or 6 minutes afterwards.
It's protecting the community at large. So if we're forming a circle of support and giving this person community and friendship and that kind of thing, keeping him accountable as well, you know, knowing what he's doing, what he does. We're helping him to stay out of prison, but we're also preventing further victims.
Anger. The biggest things I probably have had is my having problems with anger. It's just stupid little things in prison that don't mean a thing out in society. And learning to control my anger about that, like people bumping into me or just people not paying me respect, is because after being incarcerated for 8.5 years, you're used to having people pay you, respect.
The goal of the circle is not only to support the guy, but when we see him slipping, to call him to account, and say, we have some real concerns here. What are you going to do about it?
I had got fired for freaking out on a guy at work because he knew about my past, and he was giving me a hard time about it. And basically it came down to words, and I almost killed him. I picked up a pipe and I was going to hit him in the head with it. The supervisor, I guess, caught wind of it and ended up getting fired that day. So 2 days later, we had an emergency circle meeting that night, and basically we got me into the Clark Institute.
Essentially, the program started with a small church in Hamilton, where an offender that was known to the pastor was coming out of prison. It was a very difficult situation in the community because the public was notified by the police, and the community simply said, "We don't want this guy here." My friend Harry and folks in his church rallied around the guy and helped him find an apartment, helped him furnish it, and all kinds of practical sorts of things. But then also they began to deal with the police, and they began to deal with the community groups. The result of that whole situation was that this guy's still in the community now after almost 5 years, not having reoffended. Now, 5 years later, we have created 30 circles here in Southern Ontario, and there are another dozen to 15 operating in other parts of Canada. Do you suppose there's any connection between the anger issue and going to all these action movies? Many of our volunteers, once they begin to understand both the issues that these guys face as they come back into the community, as they begin to understand the risks to the community, they say, this is a very creative response, and I want to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
There's no conditions or qualifications for God's love, and He calls us to try to be Christ-like, and that's what Christ was like. So part of that is to be a support or a community to someone that has had a bad past, and who knows about the future.
I think part of our calling as people of faith is the element of risk. Where we're not risking in our faith, I don't think we're living out of our faith. But also, I believe that our faith calls us to be actively involved in the hard edges of our community, as agents of healing.
Sometimes it's not easy. Some people are perhaps more difficult to love than others. But I think as Christians, that's what sets us apart, that we don't just love people that love us back or are nice or easy to love. And so being in this circle can be a challenge, but I think it's a challenge that Christ asks us to do.
I hate myself for what I done. But I love myself for the person that I've become today. I've totally changed. It's the person I become. Sometimes I wish I was dead for what I done. It's just, I can't, there's nothing I wish I could go back in time to change it. It's just, I put those women through that it's crazy.
We talk about hope. We talk about the possibility of change, the mystery of change. We talk about the possibility that God can intervene in the lives of men and women in life-giving ways. And so I think that if we take our faith seriously, then it challenges us to move out into our communities and to deal with the hard issues. The challenge of community is expressed most in what do we do with the people who fall out of community? What do we do with issues of conflict in our communities? And part of recovering a sense of that craft of community is being able to deal with those hard issues in ways that strengthen the community.